We are now live. Sound check. Airport Subcommittee meeting for Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Sound check. We are now live. Sound check. Airport Subcommittee meeting for Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Sound check.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Airport Subcommittee meeting of June 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton, temporarily archived on the city's website, that any presentation reports considering at this meeting are available on the city's website, and members of the public can contact the clerk's office to acquire documents in the alternative format. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to non-audible function during committee meetings. Members are reminded of a 5-minute time limit which will be adhered to during the meeting. Members can submit another request to speak if they require more time to ask questions or make comments. Please note, quorum is present. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda. Moved by Pearson, seconded by Powers. Discussion, questions, comments? If not, all in favor, electronic vote. Mine's not coming up, Angela. Should I hit function 5?
Yes, hit F5. And Councillor Pauls, are you still with us? We just didn't get your vote. And that vote carries. Oh.
It's okay. Go ahead, though. Now I am in the meeting.
Move on now to declarations of interest. Does anybody have declarations of interest or an interest to declare? Seeing none, move on to approval of the minutes. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of February 24th. Moved by Partridge, seconded by Pearson. Discussion? Questions? Errors? No bites? Okay, put the vote up. That carries unanimously. Item 5 is communications from Arcadis Canada respecting notice of project update, Hamilton International Airport, off-site risk assessment. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put the communication on the floor? Moved by Danko, seconded by Pearson. Okay, any discussions? I believe this is about the PFAS report. Seeing none, the motion and recommendation on the floor is that it be received. All in favor? That carries 5-0. Item 6.1 is a delegation request from Anthony Marco, Hamilton District Labour Council, respecting an explanation of the proceedings for the Hamilton Airport Authority issuing a trespassing order for the entire airport property from behalf of the OPP on the evening of May 26. This is the date that Ford held a rally at the cargo jet hangar. What is your wish on this? Go ahead, Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just a little confused. Is Anthony asking to delegate? Is Anthony asking for? I'm not quite sure what the request is, because typically,
well, the request is to appear in delegation. I'm talking to entities here in the council chambers with me.
Okay.
And I said, isn't this not a police issue? You should go to the OPP who are policing that and ask for Hamilton police assistance. And I think Kathy Puckering, can you help us on this a bit, Kathy? I know this is out of character.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
You turned the OPP over to Hamilton Police, did you?
Yes, Councillor Ferguson, if I could just defer this to Cole to respond. He had firsthand knowledge of the event that night. But again, to open this, it was a visit by the Premier visiting a cargo jet hangar on airport property. Cole and I became aware of the matter shortly before it occurred, and I'll let Cole speak to respond to your question.
Cole?
Yeah, definitely. And Kathy, thanks for the intro there. And Anthony, though I can't see you, my name is Cole Horncastle. I'm the Executive Managing Director at Hamilton International Airport. On that night, on May 26th, we did receive a request from the Ontario Provincial Police that the airport permit them to remove protesters from the airport property. With the understanding that safety was at an issue and access to airport tenants was impeded, the airport granted that request. At the airport, we believe in safeguarding the right to protest in a democratic society and that individuals should be able to peacefully express their views. The airport has committed to review our internal policies and practices to ensure that decisions impacting protests in the future are made with fulsome information and protect activity related to peaceful protests to the extent possible.
Okay, so committee, you got a decision to make. You can approve the delegation or you can move to receive it. What's your wish? We probably, go ahead, Councillor Danko. I was going to give a recommendation, but we have speakers now. I think we have Councillor Danko, then Councillor Powers.
Well, since we've allowed the airport to already address it, I'd move to approve the delegation.
You're moving to approve the delegation?
Yes.
Did I hear that? Okay, is there a seconder to approving the delegation? Seconded by Councillor Powers. Okay, discussion on the motion. Yes, Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm just not clear where the jurisdiction lies here. Is this something that this committee should be hearing? Is it an airport issue? I'd just like to have a further explanation on that, please.
Well, maybe we should hear the delegation to get an answer to that question, but
okay, yeah, it's fine with me.
It's not clear to me either. The security that night was over to the OPP, and they called in the local police, Hamilton Police Services, who have jurisdiction in the area, and in fact, one arrest was made for trespassing. Okay, Councillor Powers, you had your hand up?
Sorry. Yes, I think we should hear the delegation and just to hear what the concerns that they have with regards to the issue. It may turn out that it has this committee has no purview, nor the city has any purview. It was vested by decision by the OPP, but I think in fairness, a delegation at the appropriate time, whether today or at a future time, is warranted.
Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I put my thing in the chat way back, but that's okay. I agree. I think it's important that the delegate understands and gets clarification through the staff from the airport as far as the process, and certainly recognizing that they're reviewing their policies as well. And I have no problem with the request going forward. Thank you.
I don't see anybody else on the speakers list, and that being the case, kind of the vote up, please.
So to the chair, just some procedural clarification. Generally, we approve delegation requests for a future meeting unless there's something on the agenda pertaining to that item. Is it committee's wish for the delegation to go today or to be approved for a future meeting?
Well, my sense is that it was for a future meeting. I think that's what it said on the agenda.
That is how it was presented on the agenda. I just wanted to clarify.
I don't know whether Councillor Pearson has her hand up or whether she's, oh, she had her hand in front of the camera. And so unless I hear from the committee suggesting otherwise, Marco is in the audience here today, so he could speak to us today if you want to. Councillor Pearson and then Councillor Danko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that's what I was wondering. So if is he as present that he was anticipating making the presentation today? I have no problem with that. It's a 5-minute limit, and certainly he's heard the comments from staff, from the airport staff, so I have no problem if we want to take the time today.
Councillor Danko.
I was going to suggest the same thing as the mover. If Mr. Marco is in chambers and is ready to present today, let's hear it today.
Marco, you okay if it's today? He's ready. You're ready to go? Okay, so let's have a vote on approving the delegation for today then. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. So do we hear this right now, Madam Clerk?
Procedurally, no, we would go next to consent items.
And then following consent, because there was no delegations on the agenda.
No, then there'd be staff presentations. Item 9 is public hearings delegations. So we would do item 7.1, 7.2, 8.1, and then the delegation.
Okay, so let's move on now to the airport subcommittee terms of reference. This is something that's already been approved by council, but it's here more for information, setting out the quorum limits. Can I have a mover and a seconder then to receive it? Moved by Partridge, seconded by Powers. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, Councillor Johnson, you wanted to speak to this?
No, sir, I was just ready to move it and to apologize for being late.
I'll let it go this time. All in favor? Councillor Powers has a sum up. That carries 6-0. 7.2 is the John C. Munro International Airport conventional transit service levels and ridership. And Director Maureen Cousin-Heath, Director of Transit, would like to give a brief overview. So I see you're on. So Maureen, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning. Just give me a moment to share my screen, which after 2.5 years, I still really haven't mastered. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's fine.
Perfect. Wonderful.
You may want to go to full screen, though.
I'm just going to do that now. There we go. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, good morning and welcome. Thank you for inviting me this morning. I just want to take an opportunity to cover over that Council's multi-year strategic plan is supported by the term of Council priorities, and Hamilton is focused on the economic prosperity and growth, especially in this time of recovery of the pandemic. We are also focused on being a clean and green city, which includes providing Hamiltonians and visitors alike an eco-responsible way of travel. At the HSR, we are fully committed to providing an exceptional customer experience through prioritizing the voice of customers and community engagement to build a transit system that is future ready. We're very pleased to be here this morning at the Airport Subcommittee to provide information about transit service to the John C. Munro Airport arising from the February meeting request from the Airport Subcommittee. Obviously, the airport is recognized as an area of significant importance to Hamilton as an employer and as a travel destination and a gateway to tourists to our city. It's recognized in many of our plans, including the Economic Development Action Plan. Over the years, additional investments have been made at a steady rate as Council has adopted additional years of our 10-year local transit strategy. Current services provided out to the airport are done by our 20A line express and the Transcab service. The 20A line is the second line in Hamilton's BLAST network, which is designed to provide rapid transit options throughout our city. Ridership to the airport has experienced slow and steady growth, saving, of course, during the time frame where there was very little travel being done because of COVID. The airport represents somewhere between 4 to 5% of the total activity on the A-line overall. And Transcab averages approximately 20 to 35 trips per day, with about 32% of those trips headed to the airport campus. Our major trip generators, of course, out at the airport, in addition to being the travel terminal, are the area academic institution and employers at the airport. The area is serviced by 4 stops on property, 1 at the terminal, 1 on Center Road at Airport, and 2 off of Airport Road, 1 at the Heritage Airport Museum. In the fall, September of 2022, as part of Council's continued investment in the 10-year local transit strategy, we will once again be adding additional service hours on the 20A line and improving the service out to the airport. We will be moving into a 10-minute frequency during peak, and the service day will be extended from 10:21 in the evening through till 2 a.m. in the morning on 30-minute service. On Saturdays from 8 till 6, we will also operate on a 30-minute service and 30 minutes outside of those hours. In terms of the future state, where we envision continued investment, recognizing, of course, this is 2 budget cycles away, in year 7 of the local 10-year transit strategy, if approved, we would be looking at future adjustments for September of 2023, and that will introduce Sunday and holiday service. That planned service would introduce service from 6 in the morning until 12:30 in the morning on 30-minute service and 20-minute service during 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can see that we have a sort of long-term vision and forethought into our continued planned investments to support the build out of the airport district. And the airport remains a key benefactor of the investments that Council has made through the 10-year local transit strategy. I thank you for your time today and hope you found this information helpful.
Thank you, Maureen. Could you just take it down so I can see the grid?
Sure can.
Anybody have any questions for Maureen? Councillor Bdenko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when just looking at the route map, and there's a couple of airport stops, including the terminal, because the airport is obviously a big place. So how did you determine where the stop should be, and just overall, how does it map to the operations at the airport in terms of the employment and also the terminal?
So we've had conversations, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, we've had conversations with the airport staff about possible potential stop locations, and the planning and infrastructure staff at HSR have determined that those are the locations to generate the most foot traffic and also be the place that are suitable for transit stops to meet the requirements under the AODA for accessibility and also safe requirements for where to discharge passengers and onboard passengers.
Thank you. And then the second part of that question was mapping to operations at the airports in terms of like when flights arrive and depart, and also the employment lands there with, so the warehouses and the numerous different employers that are in different locations.
Right. So through you, Mr. Chair, as it currently stands, employees would be expected to travel to the existing stops on the airport lands. And in terms of aligning to flight schedules, there is a challenge, obviously, in doing that, as airlines are subject to change their flight schedule quite significantly depending on what's happening in the airline industry. And by providing a consistent schedule on a frequent headway, it means that we are able to be less concerned about airline arrival and departure times and more focused on just delivering a frequent and reliable service that they can then match their travel plans to.
Great, thank you.
I think, Maureen, it's Appendix C I'm looking at. Everything highlighted in yellow is a stop for the bus. Am I reading that correctly?
No, pardon me while I refer to Appendix C. I believe that those are the Transcab Service Zones. Those highlight the trip generators.
Okay.
Those are not the stops.
How many? Do you have it on your appendix? I didn't see it on Appendix B either. Do you have how many stops do you have in the airport proper then?
There are 4.
Okay. And Mohawk College is one of them, because I suspect they'd be a big user.
I will just invite Andy Zimmerman to answer that question. Sorry, Andy McLaughlin.
Okay.
Thank you, Maureen. Through the chair, the students who attend the Mohawk College School of Avionics make use of the bus stop located on Center Road at Airport Road.
Okay, I didn't really understand the answer. I think it's because of the way the sound system may be in here. It was a little garbled. Did you understand it, Maureen?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The stop for those students is located at Center Road at Airport.
Okay. Just wanted to get the clarity on that. Any further questions to the director? Seeing none, and we just go back to the recommendation. I believe it's to receive. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? It's a motion to receive. Moved by Pearson, seconded by Partridge. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Let's go on to item 8.1, which is Kathy Puckering, President CEO, John C. Munro, Hamilton International Airport. Going to give us an update at what's happening at the airport. So, Kathy, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and councillors and staff. Thank you for having Cole and I today to deliver on our quarterly update. Before I turn it over to Cole to actually do the presentation and just talk a bit about what we've done since we last met in February, just a little bit what's going on. We're halfway through the year. I'm surprised to be here at the end of June already. And it's continued to be a bit of a challenging year with a slow start with passenger traffic. Cole will highlight, though, later on the continued progress when it comes to the movement of goods and cargo, continuing to see an uptick and strong demand there. And again, just adding a little bit onto the needs of the HSR, it is very much that the workers for the cargo industry and the employment lands that are generating the need for 24-hour bus service as well. So we're very happy to see the progress that is made by the HSR to extend the hours of work. We're getting there, and we're looking forward to years 7 to 10 in that plan. I'm looking forward a little bit. You know, we're not out of the current situation that we're seeing right now, and what Cole and I will be, carefully watching as we end this year and moving into next year is really, the pent-up demand that we're seeing right now that's putting all those bums in seats. How will that be impacted, in the next few months or 12 months, as well as watching what's going on, with the geopolitical impacts to our business, and when it comes to inflation and cost of living increases, interest rate rising, and how is that going to affect the pocketbook and the disposable income or discretionary spending that is really, important when you look at the demographic and the passengers that choose Hamilton International. So those visit family, friends, that leisure travel, that what we're known for and proud to have, is something that we will need to watch, and we'll be ready to provide this committee with an update at the meeting in September. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Cole to share some of the highlights of what we've seen since we last met, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kathy. Cole, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kathy. Angela, if we can pull up the runway, our quarterly e-newsletter, and that's what I'll walk through today through the Airport Subcommittee, that would be greatly appreciated. Starting off on pages 39 and 40 of the package, you can see some of the information that we've highlighted is on our economic impact update, as well as our year in review. We briefly touched upon this at our last Airport Subcommittee meeting in February, so I won't go into too much detail on it, but it's just, in summary, Trayport continues to be an economic engine. The airport continues to be an economic engine for the region. And right now we boast over 4,700 jobs in Hamilton, and from the airport, 9,800 in the province. Both of these are increases over our 2017 information, which would be 37% and 32% increases individually. All of this leads to over 1.5 billion in economic activity at the airport. So a truly outstanding number when it comes to the economic engine that the airport is. For further information, there's links in this document. You can click on them to have full copies of the economic impact study or the year in review. All of these have been sent out earlier via different publications, so won't get too much into that.
And Cole, you're going from the runway. Can you just once again give us the page that you're on? Does clerks have it up on the screen to allow the committee to follow along with you?
Perfect, yeah. And actually, we'll move to page 41 now. Angela, that would be great as we start to focus here on the passenger update.
So my apologies, Cole.
Right there, that's great.
There's only 14 pages.
Oh, sorry, I went with the master that Diana passed along, because I thought you'd be pulling that one up. So this is the slide right here, and I'll do my best to adjust.
I don't have that one.
No problem. We'll be able to work this, not a problem. So getting into our passenger portion of the update, we kicked off our summer program on May 1st, and it included some exciting new destinations from our key partner Swoop, and the return of summer international travel to YHM. This is the first since the pandemic began. So new destinations include Charlottetown, which is 4 times weekly, St. John's, Newfoundland, 4 times weekly, Deer Lake, 2 times weekly, and Moncton, 4 times weekly. So a really nice Eastern Canada expansion by Swoop at the airport. and as well the return of international traffic. Last week, we welcomed back Las Vegas for the summer, which many people were excited about. And we've got the continuation of Orlando and St. Pete's Clearwater throughout the remainder of the summer. So great news from Swoop's growth and passenger side at the airport. As we kind of touched before the meeting here, also exciting is that tomorrow we've got the new ultra affordable carrier, Lynx Air, starting service to Calgary and Halifax at the airport for a total of 6 times weekly. Lynx started its operations earlier this year out of other locations, and we look forward to helping to make them a success at Hamilton. And lastly, WestJet continues to offer its Calgary service from the airport, which is currently at approximately 1 daily flight. And however, that flexes up to 2 depending on the type of, or the summer period, the summer week, and the demand. So you can see anywhere from 1 to 2 flights a day from WestJet operating from the airport. So as Kathy mentioned, we have, it's exciting, some of this growth news, but as well, we continue to recover from the beginning of the year. With restrictions and recommendations for reducing travel in place at the start of the year, we saw some canceled service from our operators, and that included Air Transat, who canceled the YGM routes, and reductions from Sunwing and Swoop from their international leisure locations. From January through May, the airport had approximately 156,000 E&D, so enplaned and deplaned passengers, flow through the airport. And though this is a significant increase over 2021, and that's over 500% based on that year of the pandemic, it was still only 42% of our 2019 traffic. And that's the January to May period. So, and just as a highlight, 2019 was our second highest year of passenger traffic at 955,000 E&D. So, for the first part of the year, we still, nice recovery over 2020, but still a bit of ways to go for 2019 figures. But that being said, the rest of the year has a lot of optimism. And based on the route information that I've already shared and the projected flight schedules, July to December of this year is shaping up to be a very busy period. And we expect to operate at approximately 94% of our 2019 traffic. Swoop continues to lead the way on this and is expected to deliver approximately 90% of the enplaned and deplaned passenger totals. And right now, really good news, many flights are going out full, and as expected, ultra low cost markets are expected to bounce back quicker. So that's it from the passenger side. Moving into the cargo update, and we can stay on here, Angela, that's fine. From a cargo perspective, Hamilton International continues to grow its impressive reputation as Canada's fastest growing cargo airport by payload. Continue to increase cargo land at EMTO year over year, and we are setting records every year with our partners CargoJet, DHL, UPS, Prime Air, Purolator, and Canada Post. From January to May 2022, the airport had a total cargo landed EMTO of 375 million kilograms. That's greater than the same period last year by 14%, and the highest ever total for that period in airport history. CargoJet continues to lead this growth, operating 91% of all cargo EMTO landed at Hamilton International, and does operate for most of our key stakeholders at the airport who have large facilities. The growth continues with the surge in e-commerce, as well as the increased capacity from our stakeholders with new facilities that has led to both domestic and international growth. In 2022, we are expecting growth upwards of 20% by the end of the year. And like I said, international and domestic leading the way on this. Getting into our land development, at and around the airport continues to have significant interest. However, the airport's inventory of on airport land for development is limited to unique shaped parcels that may not allow for new large entrants into the market. Tradeport continues to work with the city on trying to meet the requests coming in and as well find unique solutions for those already on site. To give you an idea of that interest, in 2022, so far, the airport team has responded to 32 land development requests from the city for this period, which would be January, just about mid-June right now. That's a 60% increase over the same period in last year. So just continues to show that the development around the airport continues to have significant interest. Angela, if we could move down to the next page, let me just see how we fly here. Great, that's great. So moving on to our operations, a key achievement was reached with the airport receiving the Airport Council International Airport Health Accreditation in April 2022, showing stakeholders our commitment to prioritizing health and safety measures at a critical time where health and safety restrictions are relaxed. This also includes our Choose Comfort campaign, spotlighting all the measures in place that we have. Throughout the last quarter, our dedicated team of operational professionals continue to deliver on our regulatory and commercial programs. Some to note, from a noise monitoring perspective, the airport held its annual noise committee meeting in June and highlighted improvements to the program, as well as the general lack of noise inquiries made at Hamilton International. Year to date, we've had 20 noise complaints. And just to give you a comparison of what that would be, we've got 20 noise complaints compared to the 13,000 movements that happened at the airport. So we're talking a very minimal amount of inquiries being made for a significant amount of movements at the airport. From an odor monitoring perspective, our team continues to implement our policies and procedures that support our glycol mitigation, and we continue to work with the City of Hamilton on that. We've only received one odor complaint this year, which was in January 2022 during the winter season, and we worked with the city on ensuring that was rectified. And lastly, from a customer service perspective, we continue to deliver on our exceptional customer service to our stakeholders, and that's through our operations center and airside teams. And to give you an idea of how much we've processed over the period, 23,000 operation log entries were made. We've responded to 141 incidents, and we completed over 7,800 work orders. Significant achievements by our operations team over that period. We continue to drive on-time performance with our carriers, which is a very important aspect of our business, and we offer unique solutions to ensure our stakeholders can all grow at YHM. Other operational highlights in the period includes the start of our summer 2020 capital program. And key aspects of that program include the rehabilitations of taxiway Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and Juliet, 2 of which are already completed. We've went out for tender for an ARF truck purchase. We've gone through that process and put the order in with an expected delivery date of mid next year. And lastly, we're excited to increase our washroom size in the hold room. We have a washroom expansion planned, more than doubling our current capacity in our boarding lounge. So good news for the terminal team on that one. Lastly, from an environmental perspective, the airport is applying to the Airport Carbon Accreditation Program this year through the Airport Council International. We have our application well underway. We'll be submitting it shortly, and we are hoping for certification by the end of the year. In this program, we will continue to drive home environmental excellence. And lastly, if we could move to the next page here, Angela, just a partner spotlight, and I think it's great news here. It's always important to recognize our stakeholders at the airport because lots of different stakeholders go into making our airport a great place in Hamilton, and one of those is the Warplane Heritage Museum. In 2022, the museum is celebrating its 50th year at the airport, and a great achievement for this important facility in Hamilton. Some of the events have already occurred, with the last being the 50-year gala that will occur in October. So congratulations to the Warplane Museum. We're very excited for this event, and it's always a pleasure to go take a walk through and talk to all the staff there. So great stuff from the Warplane Museums. And with that, Chair, I can conclude the presentation. So thank you for giving me this time.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Cole and Kathy. So I have Councillor Johnson as the speaker. And then Councillor Powers.
Thank you, Kathy, and Cole, through you, Chair. Cole did mention, and I don't have the slide number, sorry, about the noise implementation committee. For those that don't know, this is made up of the staff at the airport, myself, and residents. And whenever there are issues, you can fill the room. When there are no issues, it's crickets. And I can honestly say that it was literally crickets this past meeting. It was wonderful. And my colleagues will tell you that bylaw has been running their feet off since COVID started. And my opinion is that people are at home and they notice things they didn't notice when they were working or they were out and about. So the calls, even though during COVID increased slightly, proportionately, they were very low. So, and I give a lot of the credit to the airport staff because they're making sure now that the residents that backing onto this airport are being looked after, their concerns are being addressed. And again, this is the only airport in Canada that's surrounded by a village. So it really makes it difficult when you get compatibility issues going forward with the noise and the odors and the everybody loves the Warplane. They love to see the old jets or the old planes going by, but nobody likes having a percolator run off right in front of your backyard. So the staff have been amazing at redirecting all these issues and to make sure that they've been resolved. So I just wanted to put a shout out for there because we do work closely together and it's been working well. Thank you.
Yeah, I find the same thing. I'm getting in fact, I can't remember the last time I got a noise complaint from Ancaster. Councillor Powers.
Thank you. My apologies is I put my question in, but I wasn't able to forward in the chat thing.
You're up twice, by the way, Councillor Powers. Are you logged in twice?
My question is either Kathy or Cole. It sounds like I'm getting echo. I'll back out. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
I think all you have to do is log off and log back in again.
Sorry, through the chair. You were in twice, Councillor Powers. We've kicked one of you out, so I think you can go ahead and speak now. It should work fine.
Are you still there, Councillor Powers?
No, I think he logged himself out.
Okay, I have no other speakers. So, Councillor Johnson, if you just take a chair for a minute. Thanks for the presentations to both Kathy and Cole. And so two questions are, it's been all over the media that WestJet is leaving really Eastern Canada. And we know that WestJet moved their Hamilton operation over to Toronto a few years ago. But Swoop is 100% owned by WestJet. How does that affect the Swoop operation in Eastern Canada and in particular in Hamilton?
Cole or Kathy?
I'll take that the question. The news that we've heard is very new and very recent, and what was shared publicly and with us is that the scheduling and the impacts to airports is not yet complete. What we do know is that WestJet is going to focus its Encore program more out in the Western provinces where it believes it has a competitive advantage against others. That aircraft is not currently being served in Hamilton, but it is being used in the Eastern provinces. So what we heard in their CEO's announcement is that it will likely move that product out of the East into the West, where they believe they'll be able to compete more effectively. They believe that Air Canada has an advantage over them in the East, and they're going to really focus on what they do well. What we understand right now is that Swoop is still committed and dedicated to expanding its product and its brand. It is doing very well in the marketplace. While we don't have specifics on it yet, we have confidence that that product will continue to grow in Hamilton. They are continuing to add more aircraft into its fleet, and the direction from its board is to continue to grow that line. And Hamilton is a very successful market and base for them. What I also will share with the committee is that the operations that split today with Swoop between Hamilton and Toronto will continue to operate the way it is. They firmly believe that the Toronto market and the Hamilton market are two distinct markets, and they'll continue to have products in both of those regions.
So, Kathy, through you, Madam Chairman, I think I heard you say that you don't anticipate any change in the Swoop service to Hamilton. In fact, it may increase. Is that what you said? I tried to shorten it down.
Yeah, I can summarize that. Yes, Councillor Ferguson. And the only other thing I will add to that in the announcement that was made is WestJet and Swoop will continue to look at cargo opportunities. They don't do a lot of cargo in the bellies of those passenger aircrafts right now. So they'll be looking at expanding that opportunity. And does Hamilton play into that? That's something that we'll be pursuing for sure.
Thank you for that. The second question, Madam Chairman, is, and I'll let Cole or Kathy decide who wants to answer it. But with as much fanfare, they opened up an Amazon fulfillment center right near the airport property. Have we seen a spike in cargo traffic as a result of that?
Thank you, Kathy or Cole.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair on this one. Thank you for the question, Councillor Ferguson. So beginning last year, we did have Prime Air start operations that does fly on behalf of Amazon through the airport at twice daily, and that's operated by Cargojet. Our understanding of the Amazon facility at the northeast corner of the airport is it's mainly a ground facility when it comes to moving goods. However, that being said, we have seen the fact that Amazon and Prime Air did start at the airport is a very good sign when it comes to that. So though not directly related, there likely was some impacts from it. And as mentioned in the presentation, we continue to break cargo MTO records year over year right now at the airport. So really good news from the cargo front.
So you don't have a feel whether Amazon actually created a significant increase in cargo in Hamilton yet?
So one thing to add that we've been looking at is we don't have line of sight of the data on what the goods that are actually moving. So we're not sure what's moving in and out of that facility by truck, not certain what's flying in and out of air that then gets on truck that may be stopping at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. What we have been told is there is not significant activity happening there, but it just makes sense that those two separate units of Amazon and Prime Air are located within a very short distance. And what we would continue to focus on is continued future opportunities. And Amazon is aware that they have the potential to connect the air to the ground. And again, that is a priority that we would all be working towards.
Okay, so you've received no interest yet in Amazon getting a through the fence agreement to take the aircraft right up to the fulfillment center?
So we have not had a formal request for that specific operator. They're satisfied with how they're performing today. That doesn't mean it won't change in the future. They do recognize that they've got a significant parcel of real estate adjacent to an airfield that does have future flexibility. But the question has not been asked of us at this point.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll take the chair back now, Councillor Johnson. Is there anyone else has any questions of either Kathy or Cole? Seeing none, just need a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Johnson. All in favor? That carries 5-0. Thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation today. I'd like to go back now to our delegation that was approved earlier, and that's Anthony Marco from the Hamilton District Labour Council, respecting an explanation for the procedure for the Hamilton Authority issuing a trespass order for the entire airport property. And that was Marco's words, not mine. So Marco, do you want to come forward now? Yep, come to the podium. And as you're walking down, I think you know the rules. You've been here enough, and we have a 5-minute limit.
I had no idea. You had a presentation. Yeah, come on down. We'll figure it out. Yeah. I'm just looking for your email address. It's just going to take a minute, Councillor. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this. I'm just looking for your email here.
If it's easier, I could send you a PDF of my...
Marco, can you move to the microphone so we can hear you?
Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Go as fast as I can.
It's Anthony, by the way. Pardon me?
Do you have WebEx on your computer?
I don't know if I have it on this one or not, no.
Okay, why don't you just send me the presentation and I'll figure it out here.
I can do that.
I think that's Councillor Powers.
Which email would you like?
It's angela.mccrae@hamilton.ca.
The reason Anthony didn't send this to Angela before was he didn't know he was going to be approved for the presentation today.
I just sent it to you as a PDF, but it was originally a slideshow, so it's in PDF form. So.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
For sure, you sent it?
I just did.
I'm just gonna double check to make sure the email address is right.
It came up on my screen because I think I communicated with you by email before.
Can Anthony not load it on the memory stick for you, Angela?
Yeah, we'll do that next. Here?
Sure.
I'll just put it on my screen, I guess, whatever's easiest at this point. So we're not taking up people's
time. Lloyd?
Yes.
I'm connected by phone only. I can't reconnect now by the by online. So could I ask that question of Cole and Kathy that I was trying to?
Okay, yeah, go ahead and ask your question now.
Okay.
We've received the presentation, so, but by all means, you had technical problems, so go ahead.
Thanks, Lloyd. Kathy, Cole, did you speak about the passenger experience? We're hearing the nightmares about people, getting not only to the airports, but checking in and then going through security to get onto their flights, and delays taking upwards of 4 or 5 hours, both at one end or the other. Can you share with us, unless you already have, the passenger experiences up at the Hamilton Airport?
Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And through the chair, we are not experiencing the same delays and congestion that are being felt at some of our major hub airports in Canada. So our operation is running fairly smoothly right now when it comes to our traffic. We're gearing up for peak summer traffic, which we expect will be significant. With the way our flights are scheduled throughout the day, and as well as our current processing capacity, we aren't having those same concerns right now that are at other airports.
Thanks for that, Cole. That's great news. I think that's another thing that you should publicize, is that travelers with the summer travel season on stream won't experience or shouldn't experience the delays that are prevalent in some of the other neighboring airports.
Okay, great question. Just to follow up on that, Cole, is how about customs? Do they have enough staff on for the people coming back from the U.S. or overseas?
Yeah, we work consistently with not only CATSA, but as well the CBSA and the company you're mentioning there, and the government agency. And as of right now, we're, every entity is meeting demand as much as they can, and we aren't seeing any significant drawbacks from the current staffing levels at the airport.
Okay, thank you for
Something
that.
that we continually monitor, though, Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. And good question, Councillor Powers. Okay, I think Anthony's ready to go. Are you, Anthony?
I am. Just my procedural question. So when I want to jump to the next screen or whatever that is, because it's not, just let you know. Okay. And is it okay if I put mine up here just to refer to?
Do whatever you want.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. My name is Anthony Marco. I'm the president of the Hamilton District Labour Council. I'd like to give you a little bit of context and a very, very quick, expedited scenario of what happened on May the 26th and the concerns that I have arising from it, and I hope some of the concerns that will be shared by this committee as well. So on the next slide, please. The Hamilton District Labour Council first heard that Doug Ford was having a rally up at the Hamilton Airport at the cargo jet site, and ourselves, as well as a group from Hamilton 350, which is an environmental group, decided that we were going to go up there and try and picket and protest and let people know our concerns before the provincial election. Most of you who know the Labour Council know that we have a history of protesting, and we do it peacefully, we do it legally. There were about 25 of us in attendance, ranging in age from 20s to their 70s, having signs with concerns to labor issues and environmental issues. And we brought our signs to spread messaging outside of the cargo jet site. Next slide, please. So when we got there, we discovered very quickly that the gentleman that you see in the picture here, who was apparently a PC party staffer, came out and was in the process of arresting a Toronto lawyer. We didn't see the inciting incident which brought it, but we did know that she repeatedly said that she had registered for the event. She had in her hand a piece of paper saying, "I'm registered to come here." And ultimately, this gentleman decided that she shouldn't be there, and she was arrested as trespassing by the police on the cargo jet site. When we saw that happening, we decided to shift a little bit what we were going to do, because we knew that if we stayed on the cargo jet site, probably the same thing would happen to us. Next slide, please. So we changed our tactics, and we decided to go out onto the road and line the roads. And we also decided to do a traditional kind of what we would call labor picket of the road. And when we got across the street from the cargo jet site, we noticed very quickly the police weren't as concerned with us. They had a trespass order in place for the cargo jet site, and so they were enacting upon that. But once we left the cargo jet site, we weren't harassed by the police anymore. We weren't harassed at all at any point, actually. We were harassed by the gentleman from the Ontario PC Party who followed us around and threatened us on a regular basis as we were there. Next slide, please. We slowly walked back and forth across the lanes of East Cargo Drive and East Cargo Road. 5 or 6 of us would cross, a car would go through. 5 or 6 of us would cross back the other way, a car would go through. Many of you know this as a tried and traditional picketing method that is used in front of plant gates, that is used in front of any place that is being struck or picketed or protested. We never blocked pedestrians. We never in any forceful way interacted with anybody. It was very peaceful. We were carrying signs. That's the way it worked. Next slide, please. Several times during the entire event, that same Ontario PC enforcer came out and said, "You really want to spend the night in jail, don't you?" to me. He doesn't know me very well. Commenting like that to me generally doesn't threaten me. At the time, the Hamilton Police Service stayed on the cargo jet grounds. And did we slow down the entryway to the event? Sure, but every single person got in. Literally, it was slowing them down by maybe 30 seconds, slowing down a few people per car, trying to let people in. If we wanted to cause more trouble, we could have registered for the event, worn blue, and snuck into the building and caused trouble. That's not what our purpose was. Our purpose was to publicly protest. Next slide, please. After an hour of peaceful legal protest, an HPS officer came over and told us we had to stop protesting because we were on airport property. We've since looked at the map and disagree that necessarily all of our protest was happening on airport property, because where we were protesting abuts property that is not airport property. But the HPS officers were threatening many of our people now with arrest for protesting, and they were saying that we were on an order, and we didn't know enough at the time to know otherwise. I show you a copy of the trespass order. Next slide, please. And I want to make note that the order was from the Ontario Provincial Police, from their Dignitary Protection and Investigations section in Orillia, at an Ontario PC rally, directing the Hamilton Police Service to remove Hamilton citizens from Hamilton property. The arbiter of who got to stay or go was that gentleman you saw earlier. If he liked you, if you were desirable, you could stay. If you weren't desirable, you had to be removed. I don't know who the senior staff is at the Hamilton Airport. I certainly couldn't challenge the name that was on there. There was a name on the order. So we left peacefully as the police came to basically threaten us with arrest. Next slide, please. It leaves me with several lingering questions, and this is the wrap up. So I'm trying to let you know that I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible. I would love to know, and this might not be a question for this committee, but I'm hoping if this committee can't answer some of these questions, that they can maybe direct me as to where to get those answers. What process happened behind closed doors by the Ontario PC Party to get the Ontario Provincial Police to mandate the Hamilton Police Service to enforce a trespass order over the entire airport, not just cargo jet. This was for the entire airport property, with the only gatekeeper that we could see being the PC staffer saying who was desirable and who wasn't. Question 2, was the person who signed the trespass order on behalf of the Hamilton International Airport authorized to do so? And if so, does the Hamilton Airport have any policies or procedures to dictate what steps need to be followed to effectively cede control of the airport to, in this case, the Ontario PC Party staffer who got to decide who stayed and who went? Under the airport-wide trespass order, could the Ontario PC Party operative in front of the Cargo Jet Airways have refused access to the flight terminal because they were critical of the party? The Hamilton Police Service were following the party's operatives' directives as to who was and wasn't desirable. With the Hamilton Airport property ending at the intersection where the protesters were picketing, why were the Hamilton Police Service and Ontario PC Party allowed to threaten protesters with arrest on land that was off airport property? And the last 2 questions, does the City of Hamilton maintain East Cargo Road and East Cargo Drive? If they're under the purview of the Hamilton Airport, why is there city signage up there? Is the roadwork for these roads paid by the city or the airport? Ultimately, can the airport issue a trespass order on a city street? And lastly, does the City of Hamilton, the airport, or the Hamilton Police Service consider it acceptable that the OPP and the Ontario PC Party effectively declared eminent domain over part of the city that night to protect the feelings of Doug Ford and his supporters? Like I said at the top, I don't know if this committee can answer any or all of these, or if they can provide me some guidance as to who possibly can at the local level. But I will certainly follow up at the local level, with whomever they recommend, and at the provincial level if I need to do so. And so I appreciate your indulgence today and letting me speak today. I will end it there, and if there are any questions, I will certainly take them.
Okay. Any questions of the presenter? Seeing none, I'd recommend then that you take your concerns, all those questions I look were policing matters. I believe Hamilton Police Services does patrol groundside at the Hamilton Airport, and the airport itself operates security on the air side. And so I would suggest your peer in delegation for the Hamilton Police Services Board, or put an FOI request into them. I can tell you, as my experience as chair of the Hamilton Police Services Board, the board cannot direct police. That's an operational matter that they must do. They're held accountable under the policies of the Hamilton Police Service, but you may also want to get a hold of the Ontario Provincial Police, because they're the ones that actually took directions from, allegedly from you, that the PC staffer was giving direction to the OPP, so you should check in with them. But I have Councillor Danko asking to speak, so the floor is yours, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have questions for the presenter, but I do have a couple questions for either staff or representatives of the airport that I think are not necessarily policing issues, but would be relevant to this committee.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to receive the presentation first, or?
We could do that. Is there any other questions for the presenter? Okay, then a motion to receive, moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by, do you want a second to Councillor Danko?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor of receiving the presentation? Okay, thank you, Anthony. Go back in your seat now. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Danko, your questions.
Sorry, through the chair, just Councillor Johnson, if you can just vote on the item. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So there's just a couple questions that were asked that I think are relevant to this committee specifically. The one was the person who signed the trespass order, Martina McLaurin, and the question was, what is her connection to Hamilton International Airport, and did she have the authority to sign that trespass order?
Who's your question to?
Not sure, to whomever could answer.
Kathy,
yeah,
do you want to
chair, I can
the answer to that?
Yeah, through the chair, I can answer that question, and thank you, Councillor Danko. Martina McLaren is our manager of our operations center. In the day in question, we followed our authorization policy, which ultimately came up to me with this request. I gave the approval for the document to be signed.
Thank you. Another question that was asked was, is East Cargo Road and East Cargo Drive city property, and does the city maintain those roadways? Is there anybody that's able to answer that?
Through the chair, I can also help out with that question. Thank you. So under the operating lease, East Cargo Road in its entirety is under our, which would be Tradeport International Corporation's management. And even though there may be city signage, that signage is there for a purpose, in that we follow standards similar to the city when we actually would do any construction on roads. That is done with a purpose when we have any construction. So all costs associated with East Cargo Road, whether it be maintenance or snow clearing, fall back into Tradeport International Corporation. On that. So, and that's all of that road is under that.
Thank you. Earlier, there was in the discussion, there was it was stated, I think, that there was a safety concern due to the protest. Specifically, what was that safety concern?
So through the chair, again, that was a request from the OPP who brought up the safety concern. From my perspective, there are several operators along East Cargo Road that operate from the airport. We are required to follow regulations under Transport Canada, under Canadian aviation regulations. On that road, several stakeholders were being impacted, as well as there's a fuel farm on that road, which brings aircraft fuel to and from our main apron. So when the OPP raised the safety concern, we definitely were listening and moved forward.
But specifically, what was the safety concern? There was a safety concern that somebody was going to blow up the fuel, or there was a safety concern that people were going to get run over by a car?
Through the chair, I would probably think that's a question for the OPP who directed that to us.
But what did they tell you?
So as part of that, they rose the safety concern with the amount of traffic on the road and access to stakeholders and other tenants. We were also dealing with other tenants at the time along the road who were raising concerns for their employees.
Safety concerns for their employees? Or just that they couldn't get in and out?
I would say operational concerns.
Okay. And then the last question that was raised in the discussion was that effectively the Ontario PC Party was directing who could access the airport lands because of the trespass order. Would that have also applied to the terminal? Basically, you had this one person that was pointing out who could and who could not access any lands on the airport?
I'm unaware that that person was the person directing the OPP. From my perspective, the OPP were directing themselves with Hamilton Police.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chairman, but I do raise them, and I think it is an important issue because the Ontario PC Party has had a history of using police forces to have people that don't agree with them, protesters, arrested. We saw the reporter in Toronto a few years ago, I believe it was Mike Crawley, who was arrested on the sidewalk. You know, the airport is under lease from the city Hamilton, and I think there is a bigger question here. So I do hope that there are some answers forthcoming from either the OPP or Hamilton Police Service. Thank you.
Okay, just a follow-up question, if I can. Maybe I should turn the chair over to Councillor Johnson, but Kathy or Cole, can you confirm for me that it's Hamilton Police Services that patrols and enforces safety at the Hamilton Airport and not your security staff? Your security staff deal with the airside security. Have I got that correct?
Through the chair, Hamilton Police have access when needed to the full airport for any type of issue. We have on-site security that is meant to follow regulation, which would be under Canadian aviation security regulations. That is what the purpose of our security team is for in the operations center, and monitor the whole premises. When it comes to Hamilton Police, from a patrol perspective, there's no active patrols going on, but when it comes to calls at the airport, they are, whether groundside or airside, they are able to have access.
Okay, I'll take the chair back, and we've already received the presentation, so I think we're finished with this item. Okay, we'll now move on to the in-camera part.
So just to the chair, amendments to the outstanding business
list. Yeah, the
list.
outstanding business list. Got a mover, seconder to approve the amendments to the outstanding business list. This is the transit. Moved by Partridge, seconded by Pearson. Discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yay for me.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Powers. So we're having trouble displaying it, Councillor Ferguson, but that carried 6-0.
It carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the closed session minutes of February the 24th, 2022? Moved by Pearson, seconded by, I'll second it. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay? I think that's unanimous then. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Yep. We're now going to close session for item 14.2.
Mr. Chair, before we go into closed session, I'm prepared to approve this in open. It's pretty standard. We've done this in the past, so if it just helps move things along, I'd be happy to move it.
Would anybody like to go in closed session to discuss the motion? Seeing none, so then Councillor Johnson, do you want to make the motion?
Yep, thank you. I would like to move that we approve 14, I think it's 14.2.
Correct.
Thank you. And I believe that we need to, because it's contractual, that we need to keep it confidential. I'll just go to the clerk to make sure I've moved that properly.
Yeah, so through the chair, if I could just read out what we're going to approve in open session, if that's okay.
That's great. Thank you, Andrea.
Well, we're still in open session, Madam Clerk.
Correct. This is the open session recommendation, though, that we need to prove. That the direction provided to staff in closed session respecting report PED 22159, potential development and expansion proposal at the John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport, CYHM-YHM, be approved and remain confidential, and that the complete report PED 22159 respecting the same remain confidential.
Is that okay, Councillor Johnson? Okay, seconded by Councillor Partridge. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Yay.
Thank you.
And that vote carries 6-0.
Okay, so I think all we have left now is a motion to adjourn. Moved by Pearson, seconded by Johnson. Does two hands mean stop, or does it mean you second it with two hands? Okay, all in favor?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, thanks everyone for your time. Once you vote, we can sign off and have a nice afternoon.
And that carries.
Thank you, everybody.